Hey, what's up, people? Piz out here, and today I want to talk to you guys about Blair Witch. But before I do, I've got to make a couple of disclaimers. Number one, this review will contain spoilers. Now, as I begin to discuss the plot points in the movie, particularly toward the end, there will be spoilers. I'll try to keep them as minimal as possible, but you've been warned this review will contain spoilers. And number two, before anybody even thinks it, why won't you let this movie stand on its own? Why do you have to compare this movie to the Blair Witch Project? Why can't this movie have its own identity? Why can't this movie stand on its own two legs? Why can't this movie be its own thing? Because I don't think this movie has its own identity. I don't think this movie can stand on its own two legs. And what little bit of footing this movie does have is owed entirely to the Blair Witch Project. Because Blair Witch is almost like a beat for beat remake of the Blair Witch Project. If you've seen the Blair Witch Project, you've seen Blair Witch, and you've seen it done a lot better. Oh, where to begin? The story takes place 17 years after the events of the Blair Witch Project, in which the three filmmakers led by Heather went off into the Black Hills of Burkittsville, and they disappeared. 17 years later, Heather's brother has discovered footage on YouTube uploaded by a Burkittsville resident in which he swears he sees his sister. So Heather's brother, his friend, they hook up with their two friends. They hook up with the two Burkittsville locals who act as guides. They go off into the Black Hills of Maryland and they disappear. Now here's where the comparisons to the Blair Witch Project are going to start flying at you guys fast and furious. I loved the Blair Witch Project for a number of reasons. Number one, I really felt an attachment to the characters in that film, and they felt real to me. Now, of course, they were pretty much more or less just playing themselves. There was no screenplay. They were ad-libbing a lot, so that certainly helped. And the movie, the way that it was paced, it really built on the suspense and the slow sort of tightening the screws tension that really made you care for the characters in the movie. Now with Blair Witch, I felt absolutely no attachment to the characters in the movie. As a matter of fact, there were a couple of characters, one in particular that I just absolutely hated. This guy was a jerk and a skeptic for no other reason than to be identified by the audience as that's the jerk guy. And really, the only substance that these characters have ultimately is that this guy's Heather's brother, this girl is Heather's brother's friend, here's the jerk guy, here's the jerk guy's girlfriend, and what is up with her foot? Here's the two locals, a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and that's it. That is the depth of the characters. That one sentence is really all you get. They're ultimately totally interchangeable. Some characters disappeared in the film. I forgot that they were even in the movie. They popped back up and I was like, who is that again? And what purpose? Doesn't matter. And with the Blair Witch Project, that slow build, that slowly turning the screws, that, day one, we're lost. Let's get back on the trail. Where'd the trail go? Day two, something's going on here. Maybe it's just the locals messing with us. Day three, something is very, very wrong here. Day four, we're screwed. With Blair Witch, it's literally within the first 15 minutes of the movie, all hell breaks loose. Another thing I really liked about the Blair Witch Project as well was the movie just a case of three city kids going off in the woods, unprepared. They get lost, they get scared, they get hungry, they turn against each other, they lose their minds, and they disappear? Or was there something paranormal afoot? And even at the end of the Blair Witch Project, that was debatable, that was arguable. With Blair Witch, again, within the first 15 minutes, they answered that question for you. So there's no mystery in the movie. There's no suspense in the movie. You could care less about any of the characters in the movie. And really, the movie only really seems to sort of take off toward the end. But by the time we get to the end of the movie, it's page for page the original Blair Witch Project. So even though they're building some good tension at this point, finally, you know exactly how it's going to end because you saw the Blair Witch Project, and this is beat for beat exactly pretty much the same thing. And now this is a major spoiler, so if you're sensitive to spoilers, fast forward a minute. But for all the people out there who complained that they did not get to see the witch in the Blair Witch Project, and that the movie was lesser for it. For all the people that I saw on Twitter talking about how they were going to base their opinion of the Blair Witch on whether or not they showed the witch, I hope it was worth it. I hope that whatever it was worth it. I hope that filled some gaping hole in your life, and it just enriched your life. Whatever that was, I hope it was worth it, because I was just shaking my head going, why? Why, God? Why? And I think Adam Wingart is a talented filmmaker. I loved The Guest. Your Next, I thought, was pretty good. I know a lot of people out there love the movie. I thought it was pretty good. I liked the segments that he did for VHS and VHS 2. Here it just seems like he has absolutely no enthusiasm for this movie. The movie's just really flat. The movie's just really uninspired. It's just... And one of the things that I just, really early on in the movie, you know, I talked about how the Blair Witch Project really built slow suspense and really, you know, turned those screws and just upped the tension factor as the movie progressed. Blair Witch just goes for boo scares. There's a preponderance of boo scares in this movie, and I just... It's so disappointing. It's so disappointing and underwhelming. And I could go on and nitpick, you know, there's this whole thing of, you know, the witch can control space and time, and the movie takes place in this perpetual night, and two characters get exiled from the rest of the group, and then they pop up the following day, but they say that they've been wandering in the woods for 5 days and they're covered in mud, and one guy's got a big thick beard. I mean, I'll give Ellie Kildwell this. She is an excellent multitasker. That is some good multitasking. But, you know, when you have limbs that long, you can... I'm not even going there. I was not a fan of this movie in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I was highly disappointed by it. I can't recommend it at all. If you're curious about the movie, wait till Redbox, rent it for $1 or $2. All the hype that surrounded this movie pre-release, the websites that will remain nameless that called it the scariest movie of the decade, I just shake my head. I don't know. You know, I want to say that their journalistic integrity is about as shallow as the characters in this film. I just wish, you know, looking back over the Blair Witch saga, I guess you could call it, it really feels like the Blair Witch Project should have been the final chapter of it. And to continue the Blair Witch saga, they should have gone back in time. I would have loved, and I still would love, to see the Rustin Parr story that Eduardo Sanchez and Daniel Myrick tried to make for years, but just couldn't happen because the studio wanted sequels, and we see how well that turned out. And I look at Blair Witch now and the fact that it's underperforming at the box office. And yeah, there's been websites that have come to its defense and said, well, you can't call this movie a flop because it doubled its production cost in its opening weekend. But the movie was estimated to make like $20 million. This is a movie called Blair Witch with Halloween right around the corner. We just had a very, very good summer for theatrical horror films. And this movie's just kind of landed with a thud, and I don't know. It feels like the legacy of the Blair Witch Project is really sort of haunted and possessed by some sort of supernatural force, if you will. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point, but again, I can't recommend Blair Witch. Yeah, just really underwhelming, really disappointing, really kind of just sad. Just kind of sad. So, anyway. If you guys out there saw the Blair Witch Project, please let me know what you thought of it in the comments section. If you liked the video, please leave it a thumbs up. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right around here somewhere. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace.
Oh, good for you!
Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.